The refugee crisis of the Palestinians is only going to increase until the greater radical Muslim world respects the fact that Israel is going nowhere. Israel is here to stay. Moran Agami is a young woman, a mother, a business owner in Tel Aviv. Her story is a bit different because she is a reservist in the IDF, but she was off duty on October 7th when the alerts began coming through on her phone. Like many Israelis, she initially thought that this was just part of the regular ongoing attack that happens from Gaza pretty much on a constant basis. But soon she realized that this was different because she began calling to her fellow soldiers on her base and could not reach them, only later to find out that they had been slaughtered. Made the courageous decision to leave her 8-year-old son with her parents, put on her IDF uniform, and went straight into the fray. I want you to join with me and listen as we hear Moran Agami bear witness to what she saw on October the 7th.
I woke up at about 6:30. Then there was a second siren. So we waited for orders. No orders came. So what I decided I want to know what is going on. So I tried to call the brave women soldiers. They serve as observers and the first to meet the terrorists, okay? They're in the front line. No soldier picked up the phone. So I thought to myself, I have a great friend. His name is Yoni. He goes to all this party. So I left the underground base because I don't have phone there. I called Yoni and he started to scream. He said, Moran, why aren't you coming? We are calling you and no one is coming. Yoni, can you try, relax and tell me what you see? But they put them into halls and shoot them, like the Holocaust. This was, of course, the Nova Festival. So Aaron knows all the Hamas Telegram channels by heart. So I met him for the first time this morning, and I told him, let's look for keywords, the Urim base, so Urim, or the neighborhood near Urim, something. And finally, we got connected to live feed channels that Hamas, they were so proud of what they do, of all their atrocities, that they air them on live feeds in those Telegram channels. They had GoPro's camera on their helmets, because they were so proud of what they did, and they wanted everyone to see it. This is how I found out that my heroic sisters at the borders did not answer, because they were burned alive in the exact same time by Hamas's fire, or being kidnapped into Gaza and still there. This is how I found out that my heroic brothers at the Urim base did not answer it, because when I called them, they were being slaughtered.
Everywhere we go right now in the headlines, we are seeing protests. We are seeing unprecedented protests on American college and university campuses, screaming out against the genocide that is happening in Gaza, perpetrated by Israeli soldiers, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. What's the truth of these accusations? What is the truth of these incredible attacks that are being made against the IDF? I was on the campus of Columbia, on the sidewalk just outside the campus of Columbia, hearing screams of genocide, hearing screams that the IDF are child killers, they're baby killers. This is what we're hearing on main university campuses across this nation. Well, I thought, let's have a conversation with one of these Israeli soldiers. So I would like you to meet one of these Israeli soldiers. I'm only going to use her first name, but she is a part of the IDF. And I want you to hear from her firsthand. She's a combat soldier. I want you to hear from her firsthand. And so, Moran, thank you for being here.
Thank you for hosting me here, Bishop.
You have told me your story. You woke up on the morning of October the 7th. There were sirens, there were alarms. But you said that's not so unusual in Israel. And so at first, you called your grandmother to make sure she was okay. And your grandmother even made a little joke saying, oh, it's probably just nothing to worry about. And then the horrible events of that day began to unfold. I've gotten to know you over the past couple of days that we've been together here. What is in your heart for your neighbors? Why are you involved in this war? You could take a stand against the war. You could refuse to go to combat. You don't. You left your 8-year-old son and you put on your army uniform. You left your business that you run and you went to this battle. Talk to us about what that is like. You are the face of the IDF. Tell us your story.
Okay, so first of all, as a reserve soldier, I had a goal, right? You never do something in your life with that no goal. I hope so. So for me, it was peace. My dream was peace. First, peace with Lebanon, because my mom came from Lebanon when she was 11 or 12. And I wanted peace, Bishop, because we deserve peace and our neighbors deserve peace. All I want to do is raise my kid happily ever after in Tel Aviv and not worry about anything. But then October 7 came, right? And it was a day of holiday to begin with.
Right.
This is my son's favorite holiday, Simchat Torah, because in the synagogue in our neighborhood, they host a magician. And then the old lady threw a bunch of candies when the Torah cycles begins, and he collects them and never remember. I do not let him eat that. But this is our favorite holiday. We've been waiting for this holiday. Mm-hmm. Someone had other plans for us. Mm. Someone thought that holiday is not important as killing and torturing Israeli innocent Jews, or even not only Jews,
right.
Also Arabs, Bedouins, and foreign workers, migrants.
Now, I want to interrupt you for a moment, and I want to go back because I know a little bit of your story. And that is that for you, really, for your family story, if we go back, this goes back to your grandparents. Was it in Iraq?
Yes, correct.
Your grandparents in Iraq who barely survived, really, I don't want to say a mini Holocaust, but a horrible pogrom where well over 1,000 Jews were slaughtered before the state of Israel was even recreated in 1948. So this issue of radical Jew hatred and the attacking of Jews by radicalized Islam, and when you told the story, you said there were wonderful Muslims who hid your parents because they were friends, and there are many good Muslims, many, many good Muslims. But even before the founding of the state, long before you were born, part of your family's story is having to run away from intense radical Islamic persecution.
Yes, so just to say, this is a minority, this was minority. Okay, the Muslims were treating the Jews very, very kindly in those countries. Okay, so the Farhud riots, which my grandparents were part of, this was part of the Holocaust.
And what year was this?
It was 1941. It was Shavuot Eve for 2 days. The Muslims in Baghdad were, slaughtered the Jews of Baghdad. So my grandparents saved from it. And eventually, obviously, because I'm here today. But the most important thing to know about these riots, Bishop, is that the architect and commander of these riots, his name is Amin al-Husseini. Amin al-Husseini was also the founder of the SS Muslim Volunteers Unit, and he was responsible for the mission to eliminate the Jews in the Arab countries and in Palestine, as he wrote himself in the Cairo newspaper in 1944, something like that.
And he was doing this in partnership with Hitler.
Yeah.
There are pictures of he and Hitler meeting together in this covenant together.
He was fully funded by the Nazi regime. That's important to say. But then, after he did all this, right, what else did he did? He was the founding father of the Palestinian people, meaning that the Palestinian people had a founding father who was a Nazi. And that explains everything, because the Farhud is exactly like October 7th. No different besides the raping. The raping is new. But it's the same amount of people, pay attention,
Wow.
1,200. Same destruction of property. The Jews in Iraq testified that all of their property has been looted. More than 50,000 Jews in Baghdad say that. So everything the same, no different. Besides that now we know it, but you know what? I knew it before, right? Before October 7th. I knew it's my personal history. I knew that the founding father of the Palestinian people was a Nazi. But I ignore it. I think part of the reason for me being here today is to ask you guys not to ignore. I want you to know that this is not an Israeli war. It's East against West.
Wow.
And you can see it everywhere. So I'm asking you, please take a stand. Please stand with us against evil.
Yeah. Because we have to understand context. Your family, already as part of your history, has fled Iraq. We talk about the refugee crisis of the Palestinians and the Palestinian refugees. But what about hundreds of thousands of Jewish refugees who had to flee from Iraq, who had to flee from Iran, who had to flee from Yemen, who had to flee from these countries? Where else can the Jews go? They have only one homeland, only one land. The Arabs, the Muslim population, dozens of nations that are Muslim nations speaking Arabic, Arabic traditions, culture, etc. When there is a war, there are refugees. This is part of the reality of war. And in 1948, David Ben-Gurion accepted the partition plan of November 29th, 1947. The Jews accepted a two-state solution with a much smaller Israel than exists today. They accepted it. The Arabs rejected that plan, and since 1948, every couple years there's another war, another war, another war, and Israel continues to prevail. The refugee crisis of the Palestinians is only going to increase until the greater radical Muslim world respects the fact that Israel is going nowhere. Israel is here to stay. So, Moran, I want you to speak for a moment. And it touched my heart because we were in the meeting and you said this. You said, I had that decision on October the 7th. Was I going to put on my uniform and go back to my reservist duty? Was I going to leave my son? And you said, and this was your natural words. This was not you reading off some script. You said, I understood I had a responsibility to the people of Israel. And out of your mouth, you said, Jewish Israelis, Palestinian Israelis, Arab Israelis, I had a responsibility to all of them to defend our country. I don't hear hatred there. I don't hear racism against Palestinians. I don't hear hatred against the innocent portion of the Palestinian community in Gaza that has been overrun by Hamas. So take a moment and humanize this for us. For the moment, you are, and that's a big pressure, I understand, but for this moment, you are the face and the heart of an Israeli soldier. What does the average Israeli want?
Okay, so I'm going to answer it by a story from the war. It was, I guess, 2 weeks after the war had started. And we had, in the south, we had almost no food. It was disgusting, really, really, really. There was one day we had a pile of eggs with flies all around it. I had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and obviously I didn't eat. And I got used to not eating. So it was a couple of days, almost 2 weeks since the war started. And I saw soldiers are going to another directions, and they was like, they're going to eat, and they were so enthusiastic. And I say, what's up there? I'm going with them. And then I saw this huge amount of food, trays of food, and with the name, marked with the name Pankina on it. Pankina is a chef restaurant in Tel Aviv, Italian chef restaurant. Amazing restaurant. And all of a sudden, I remember that I went there with my client, and I remember that I'm also a woman, that I'm also a mother, that I'm also born and raised in Tel Aviv. I love Tel Aviv. I remember that I'm human, and all of a sudden, I'm not looking for revenge anymore. I'm not angry. I just want to keep these specific people of Israel safe and to cherish them and to help them. So this magical moment happened to all of us, because when the people of Israel got it together, after a few days, the shock was over.
Right.
They just recruit to the front line from behind. They made us food every time, like it was like, what do we have for breakfast? We have cheesecake, and for lunch we have chocolate cake, and for dinner, all the time, the people of Israel. So we do what we do because we believe in good, because we want to help. We want to do good for the people of Israel, for the world, for the West, because we know it's not just Israel. They say it every time. Bishop, the supreme leader of Iran, said it already in 1979. He said Israel is a small state and United States is the greater state. They're still saying it.
Right.
So it's not Israel they're looking for. It's not only Jews. And we must stand together. And this is my strength. My strength is I want everyone to stay safe. I'm here in the States because I want you to be safe. So I guess, yes, you got it right. The motivation is doing good. Oh, no, you're a bishop.
It's the Israeli Defense Force,
Yes.
not the Israeli attack force,
Of course.
not the Israeli force that wants to annihilate the Palestinians or blot out the Palestinians. And folks, I just have to say, I have met over the past 30 years, not hundreds, I've met thousands of Israelis, thousands. In all my years, 30 years, thousands of Israelis, never one time, never one time have I heard, we've got to blow away the Palestinians. We've got to get rid of the Palestinians. I've never heard expletives against the Palestinians. Walking on the campus of Columbia, and then walking a few days later outside the Israeli embassy, what we heard was call for death to the Jews, call for death to Israel. You have to be willfully ignorant and blind, willfully ignorant and blind, to not see the difference in the tone, the expression, the desire of one side versus the other. Golda Meir said it this way. She said, it's very difficult to negotiate with the people who have only come to kill you. If this was about land, if this was about a Palestinian state, if this was actually about peace, there would be peace tomorrow. For 30 years, I have heard from thousands of people like Moran, Jewish people, Jewish mothers and fathers who say, we just want to live in peace with our Arab brothers and sisters. And what shows that more than anything else is the Abraham Accords. Because now there are Muslim nations walking in peace with Israel. Please understand, the next time you tune in CNN, the next time you get across a Facebook post or an Instagram post and you hear the evil, genocidal, racist, horrible Israeli soldier, I want you to think of Moran, a divorced mom of an 8-year-old son, making a way in her life in business in Tel Aviv, just trying to raise her child, just trying to live in peace. I want you to remember this face. I want you to remember her heart, her tone, her story. And I hope that you will join me and work and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.